It's almost game time. We're just a day away. So let's talk about how USC wins this game and why they're not going to get blown out by double digits like the spread shows. I got Kendell Hollowell back. He's here to talk some USC versus Oregon. And we also have our Friday rant. That's all coming up next on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone, and welcome to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is also the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download your podcast, you pick the platform, you do the download. This show is going to be free, and this show is always going to appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Kendell, welcome back to the show. Look, I've been doing a lot of talking this week, talking about the game, talking about Oregon, doing a little trash talking, juicing up the fans. I've been looking for the pros and the cons, how USC is going to win, what might not happen, what could happen if they don't win. For me, this game comes down to USC winning the trenches, which I think is the obvious of any game, and then keeping Oregon's run game in check. You're not going to stop them. You're going to have to make them work for it. And then, obviously, Jaden Mayabe has to play his best game on the road in his USC career. So, Kendell, welcome back to the show. Thank you again for doing this. How do you see this whole thing unfolding? Give me your, big picture outlook.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it off the top. It's the trenches, and how many weeks in a row have we talked about it? And I want to specifically point out the interior. Yeah, every single week since we've been doing this, essentially, it's always the trenches and trenches. And I mean, that's what football in general comes down to. More specifically, that's what Big Ten football comes down to. And you can tell that USC understands that just based on look at their recruiting class, right? They have countless offensive linemen and defensive linemen that are going to come in next year. They've really put an emphasis on that. But I'm looking at, you said the whole trenches. I'm specifically looking at the interior of the offensive line and the defensive line. We can start with the defensive line. That's, again, we've pointed out several weeks in a row, like those have to be the guys that step up. It's got to be Tompkins. It's got to be Abasiri. It's got to be Floyd and Jakeem and
Keyshawn
Silver. Everybody. Keyshawn Silver, yeah, exactly. It's a Pepe, all those guys there. It's Carlon Jones, all those guys that they're going to rotate in. They're going to go 6-7 deep, all those guys. And we talked all off season about how much bigger they got, right? You can see all the reports that came out, right? Silver's up to 340, Pepe's same. These guys, like they only had, I think, one guy last year above 300 pounds. Now they got about 6 or 7.
Right.
That's good and all, but if that's not going to change the game or affect it, or at least like plug up holes, which was kind of the envision going in, then none of that matters. And that's where they have to be better at. And they haven't been so far this season. And it affects the whole group, right? If the interior defensive linemen are off, it throws off the linebackers. It throws off Jaden and Desmond Stevens, and the guys are, the linemen are in their lap and stuff like that. So you got to be better at that. You got to slow them down. Like you said, you're not going to completely stop Oregon, but you got to find a way to slow them down. And those guys have to affect Dante Moore, which, again, looking at the interior, if you look at when he was most uncomfortable this year, which was the Indiana game, is because they got after him. They weren't blitzing or anything like that. They really used the interior of the defensive lines, more specifically, and they got after him. They made life uncomfortable for him. They made him bail out of the pocket. They made him just do stuff that he wasn't used to doing, and it didn't look like the same Dante Moore that we had seen up until that point. So that's where USC has to be better. You got to affect Dante Moore from the interior as a pass rush. And you got to help out your linebackers, not get pushed back. You got to reset the line of scrimmage. So you got to be able to help those guys out. And then the interior of the offensive line. Do you want to go ahead?
No. Please continue.
Yeah, same. Back in the interior offensive line, the guard, center guard. That's we know how important the tackles are for pass protection and their counter scheme and stuff like that. But the interior, got to find a push. You got to protect Maeva up the gut. And you got to find a way to move this offensive line, the defensive line of Oregon, because this is going to be the best group. Next to Notre Dame, they're probably a little bit better than Notre Dame. So I'll say this is the best group that they're going to face. Got to find a way to move them. Got to find a way to move the ball and not become one-dimensional, because I think we've seen that in the past And it was a little bit like that in the Notre Dame game where the run game wasn't there. And they kind of build on it a little bit and get it. They had explosive plays, and Riley talked about it after the game. They were getting explosive plays in the pass game, but you got to be able to run the ball, and specifically got to be able to run the ball up the middle.
Do you think that part of the adjustment that was made that worked against Iowa, Devin Tompkins, the coaching staff talked him up all off season going in that this is the guy, keep on him, and he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Is he playing inside? He's playing out of position, in my opinion. This defensive line looks better when you have him on the outside playing strong defensive end, and you got Jakeem Stewart moving inside, and even Floyd Boucard or Carlon Jones, who's been coming on late, having those guys inside, and then with an Anthony Lucas or Cam Crawford or Braylon Shelby on the other side. To me, the body, it's the body shape. It's having some junk trunk compared to, your typical, 290-pound defensive end trying to play the three technique.
Yeah, no, you said he's an end. He's a defensive end. They've had to play him at defensive tackle. I think part of that is because they haven't got I don't know what the expectations were necessarily going in for the interior, the transfers that they got, talking about Jared and Silver. I don't know what the expectations were for the coaching staff, but I think that's part of the reason why he has to play interior, because they're not getting what they wanted out of them. And I know we talked about this before that, right? We went and watched that scrimmage that they had back in August, and we weren't allowed to report on it at the time. And I just remember watching, and I'm looking at the transfers that they had, and I'm like, not temper your expectations. It's not going to be what you think or what I think, what we all envisioned when you bring in a 360-pound guy and Jared and 340 and Silver, these guys from the SEC, to really, again, if they're not going to stop, make the tackle, at least they'll clog up the lanes, which is what we're not getting. They're not getting any movement, just in general from the defensive line. I think the most productive that they had is when Jakeem gets in the backfield, which he's been very good at this year. I think that's been underrated. When you look at his line, he doesn't have a ton of tackles, but he affects a ton of plays, and they have 7.5 tackles for loss. Like you can't just look at the box score and kind of determine his impact. He's been better than that. And I said at the beginning that he's going to get better as the season goes along. And remember, he's only 18. Right, he should be a senior in high school right now. He's going to be a phenomenal player for them. It's just a lot to ask of your true freshman to be your most dominant player on the defensive line right now.
No, instinctually, he's already got it. I mean, that hustle play where he ended up with the interception last week, that doesn't happen without him just following the play and playing through the whistle.
He's an all-out player.
Absolutely.
He's so mature, like in everything that he does. Like just hearing him talk, it just blows me away every time I hear him talking. The Creole accent is always fun to hear. we talked about it. And he's so like he's detailed in his answers. He's strict about his goals, and talks about his confidence in the coaching staff. And you're just watching him like you're supposed to be a senior in high school. Just his size, the way he plays on the field, and his mindset and thing like that. He's very, very impressive just on and off the field. And he's going to continue to get better. Again, it's just a lot to ask of him right now to be that guy for them. He's going to certainly have his moments, and I think he's going to make plays on Saturday. But for him just to, play it out, you got to have more guys around you, and that's where the development comes in. I think again.
Look, I'm looking for two things to happen on Saturday because we're talking about the interior. I'm looking for every single person on that defensive line to take their turn and put Emmanuel Pagnon on his backside. Conversely, on the other side, I want to see Killian O'Connor pancaking Bear Alexander into the ground. 10 times, at least 10 times.
We've seen him quit before, so
exactly. I mean, play with that type of attitude, and that thing starts to spread throughout the whole team. They have, like you said, they have to win in the trenches.
You're the tone setters.
I'm sorry?
You're the tone setters. If they see that, it's going to affect the whole team. Your defensive backs are going to play better. The running game is going to feed off of it. The pass game is going to be better. That's just going to set the tone for the game if you're physical at the line of scrimmage. And again, like that's football in general. And again, that's just the Big Ten.
Let me ask you this question to close this segment out briefly. What's the one position group, or maybe there's two, I don't know, where you think USC has that they match up better against Oregon? Where does USC have the advantage?
I love the tight end matchups. Always, I think those guys have been just mismatches throughout the year. again, it's the combination of we talked about it before. It's a combination of Zach Hansen and Chad Savage. Like they're very good blockers. Lake
Okay.
McCree, especially this past month, like he's pancaking dudes. Like he's like an extension of the offensive line. He's like an offensive tackle sometimes
He's a
out there.
physical
Like,
dude.
he's pancaking dudes. And he's not just making good blocks. He's throwing guys off. And then they're threats down the field, right? In the vertical game, they're much better athletically this year. They're better route runners. So I think they could take advantage of the seams a little bit, get those guys involved. Trying to think.
You don't think USC has an advantage at wide receiver versus the Duck secondary? I mean, outside
They do. I think they have I don't know if advantage is the word because it's a very good secondary group for Oregon. I think you can only contain them. So you're not gonna be able to contain Lane and Lemon, right? I think Lemon didn't have the big games against Nebraska and Notre Dame, but then Lane had the big game. He had the 115 yards against Notre Dame or whatever it was. So you can only contain one of them, I think, at a time. It's a match that I'm really, really interested to see because it's a young group for Oregon that's done a really good job. I think they're number one in the country in pass defense. So that's going to come. That's going to, again, start on the offensive line. If they protect Maeva, then 100% the advantage goes to USC, and they're not going to be able to cover those guys for 60, 70 plays. I just think that if that starts to affect Maeva up front, especially the interior game, if they get after him, then that's going to throw everything off. And we've seen it before in the past. I mean, we saw it a little bit in the Nebraska game too.
Yeah, well, fortunately in that Nebraska game, Jaden found his legs and found the end zone, and it was his decision making. So
he's got to keep doing that. I don't know why it took him. He did in the first month of the season. October, kind of decided he didn't want to use his legs anymore. I know he talked about, he's like, I want to get the ball in my players' hands and stuff like that. But we've just seen, especially like you said, the Nebraska game, just how effective he is running the ball, and it just changes everything for this offense. So again, like that's got to be something that he continues to do. He's got to use it on Saturday.
Absolutely. You have to keep that Oregon defense off balance, and you got to keep those defensive linemen, especially those edges, from crashing down and taking out the running back. You have to give them something to think about.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Lincoln Riley dials up the offense. I expect him, and I hate using the word, I anticipate deep into his bag. He was pretty emotional after that win over Iowa.
That was incredible. That was incredible to see. That was like he joked about it on Tuesday. He's like, I have emotions. You guys have never seen them before. I've never seen, at least in the 4 years that he's been here, a reaction like that before. The way he was fired up after the game, jumping into his coach's arms. He was fired up on the field. He was fired up running up the tunnel. Like that was incredible to see. Just he knew the impact of that win.
Absolutely. And like I said, I want to see more of that from Lincoln Riley. More of that, I think, and that spreads like a wildfire throughout the team too.
Yeah.
The players need to show that they care more than the coach. And when you see a reaction like that from the coach, sometimes well, maybe the coach cares more than the players. You just got to see it. So,
I think they have a really good balance this year between just the coaching staff that they have and the accountability that they have within each other. Because everyone wants to talk about, like, oh, what are they doing in that, right? Because we've seen the last 3 games specifically, they're a different team in the second half, and everybody's like, well, what are they saying to them in the locker room? There's only so much that you can really say as a coach to get somebody amped up to change everything. And they're not changing their game plan. They're just accountable within, like they're holding each other to a different standard. And I think that's a big difference. The players, I was talking to Tobias about it on Tuesday because they talk about the bond within the team, how this is the closest unit that they've been a part of. And it's like, well, what's different? They can't even point to it. Like there's not a specific reason. It just kind of happened. And I think that's a big difference between this team and last year's team, that just how gelled they are together. And you can just tell it on the field.
I'll tell you what happened in the next segment. Because I have a feeling this is what happened. I'll give you my opinion on that. That's coming up next.
Yeah.
So college football is not only back, the regular season is coming to a close. There's only 2 more regular season games left, Trojan fans, and I still could not be more excited. You got the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, the playoff possibilities. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can sometimes feel like more of a battle than the game itself. You got those endless queues, the hidden fees, the price jumping at checkout. All of that sucks. That's why I recommend you use Gametime. the app that gives the advantages back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees, and what you see is what you pay. If you pull up Gametime right now and just do a couple of taps, you're going to find amazing deals. And I'm talking as low as $25 for your favorite team for your favorite game. The app made it super simple, and you can even see the exact view from your seat before you check out. So there's no risk. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, so Kendell, let me give you my opinion on what happened, and then we'll get into, next man up. And it kind of segues into that a little bit. So last year, how many games did USC lose on the road that they led late in the game? How many games? Exactly, all of them. If you use that the right way, that's a great way to have a team come together and bond. All of a sudden, like, we were close. Coach Riley talked about it all last year. They're close.
Yeah.
They're playing from here. They're playing away there. When you have guys coming back and all of a sudden they start actually believing in the coach, believing in the foundation, the culture that they're trying to instill, you start to see it. They're not blowing guys out right now. They're still learning how to win. Is it going at the right pace for me? No. I wish they were a little bit further advanced. I get all the stuff that people like to talk about, but I think last year had a huge influence on how they're playing this year. And you're seeing it with guys like the Miller brothers, Taylon Miller. I mean, they're just next man up. Coach Riley said it after practice the other day. You lose your two best running backs, the injuries we've had at offensive line. It's kind of a death sentence for a lot of teams. Hasn't been USC.
No.
So who's going to step up this game? We know USC suffered a couple of injuries last week against Iowa. We don't know their availability. Who are some of the guys you think they're going to get more snaps and are ready to take that next step?
Yeah, so I'll start on the offensive side. It starts with Kalen Miller. And we were talking about it before the show. Coach Riley has talked about how good he's been for them. And I think you can see it. I think that's still being undersold. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal for them, especially the way that he stepped in for the Nebraska game. He had been only taking practice snaps really at center because they had the injuries at that position and they kind of needed to get him ready. So the idea was like more so he was probably, if he was going to come in, he was probably going to play center. That didn't happen. They needed to play guard. We talked about he's not the biggest guy, right? He's only about 6 feet tall. But technique wise and leverage and physicality on par with everything. And I didn't watch him play in high school. And obviously we talked about his size and stuff like that. Can't understand for the life of me why he had zero interest. Him and his brother walked on. I know King had, I think it was San Jose and Portland State. I think were offers he had.
Exactly.
He had a couple offers. Kalen had zero interest. He had nothing. And I'm watching him and I'm like, again, he's a young guy too, right? They're only a redshirt freshman. So they're not too far removed from what you saw from in high school. And obviously you get better when you get around a program like USC and you have good coaching and stuff like that. You're not drastically in a different stratosphere from a guy that should have been recruited. Right, you're watching him, and it's he had zero interest. That's a guy that should be recruited. So talk about next man up. He's always ready to go. Doesn't matter if it's the fourth play of the game. Doesn't matter if it's the fourth quarter. Doesn't matter if it's for a couple of snaps. Kalen Miller is always ready to go.
And it doesn't matter if it's a left guard or right guard. He'll just put him in.
Exactly. Yeah, he'll be ready to go. He'll stand on the sideline. Kalen stepping right away, and he's going to make an impact. And he's done it all year for them. And then just the defensive side of the ball will just start in the safety group. They stepped up last week, and Kamari goes down. Bishop goes down. And Kamari is also their nickel, right? So you lose that position group as well. So it's really 3 starters within 2 players that you're losing. And Christian Pierce and Kenny Urlacher, they stepped up and they were big. And I tweeted this on Sunday about Christian Pierce. I think the underrated part of what he did is because Bishop and Kamari are your most experienced guys, right? Those are your vocal guys. They're gone. someone has to step up and do that. And I remember watching Christian so many times before like key plays. He's down there talking to the defensive linemen, the linebackers, getting them lined up, hyping them up. I'm like, you have to be that guy. And he had zero hesitation, right? That's a role he hasn't done all year. It's either been Bishop or it's Kamari in there handling that responsibility. And he had zero hesitation to step up and do that role. Got to do that again on Saturday. And he was huge for that. Same with Kenny Urlacher. He's such a sure tackler. He's such a he's a safety blanket back there at that. You're not going to get by him. Whatever kind of tackle, he's physical back there. He's a good, ankle tackler. Like he really shores up that back end, and it really, he does a good job of like eliminating explosive plays, and you're going to need that again.
That closing close down speed that he had on the sideline. I mean, it was like, where did he come from?
It was a walk-in touch. It was a walk-in touchdown. I know exactly which one you're talking about. He came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge, massive play. You brought up Christian Pierce's name. Not only did he do everything that you were explaining, he plays with a physicality to him. He is a downhill. He is going to put a shoulder pad helmet on you, and you're going to feel it type of guy. Is he Taylor Mays?
He's not Taylor Mays big, but like he's a big safety out there. He's physical. He covers well. He does a little bit of everything, and he's one of my favorite players on this team just to cover and talk to and stuff like that. Just because you talk about a guy who just waited his turn, right? He's a junior, right? He's not a redshirt freshman. He's not a sophomore. He's a junior. He waited 2 years. He played special team. It's the old school way, right? He plays special team for 2 years. He gets this opportunity this year, and he's ready to go. He didn't pout. He didn't complain. He didn't hit the transfer portal, do any of that. He waited for his opportunity. He trusted himself, and he's playing at the school that he wants to. I think that's just a phenomenal lesson in general for this era of college football, that it still does work out if you want to be patient and essentially be at the school that you chose coming out of high school, and you keep working, you stay ready. And he's been so good for them this year.
Oh, he's been outstanding this year. It's hard to find any negatives about the guy. He just comes in and does his job, doesn't complain. I think he's just a football player. You can tell
he is.
Football players, just the way they act, the way they talk. That's who he is. We talked about it briefly in the first segment. Do you see this game, Coach Riley saying, you know what, just throwing caution to the wind, taking his hat off, throwing caution to the wind, and playing more of those younger guys in the defensive interior? I'm referring to Jakeem and Boucard and Carlon Jones.
I think they won't hesitate to. I think if it right, I mean Silver and Thompson and Tompkins, they're going to start the game, right? I think if it's doesn't look right early on, for especially that first drive, they're not going to hesitate. I mean, they've done it all year, right? I mean, like Tanuk Hines is in the starting lineup. That's this guy who showed up and who came in fall camp and beat out all the upperclassmen that were ahead of him. If the young guys are better and if they can be of more service to them, they won't hesitate to play him. And I think that's something that we will see on Saturday.
Yeah, just don't wait till the second half. That's all I guess.
Got to start fast. That's the thing. That's the thing. This game, you can't fall behind 21-7 again because you won't catch up to Oregon. If you fall behind 2 touchdowns, they will not catch up, especially on the road, especially with that team. You got to keep it close. And I talked about it. I wrote an article about it this week about the guys that stepped up. Ryan Sirey, he has kept them in those games, right? He had the 2 field goals in the Nebraska game in the first half, which kept it a 1-possession game. He did it again this past weekend, right? He made it 21-10, and then he made it 21-13. He's just kept them alive in games, and that is so underrated. He's been a weapon for them. It is really, really phenomenal, the next man up mentality that this team has had. And I think we all felt that they had better depth going into this year. We didn't necessarily think that they would all have to play because of injuries. But I credit the development that the coaching staff has put for them, and just the commitment and drive that these players have, that they're ready. Doesn't matter the situation, doesn't matter the game. You call on me, I'm going to be ready to play.
Look, the fact that these guys, that USC's had 3 walk-ons play significant minutes and have integral roles in the success of their season. Ryan Sari, 17 for 18 on field goal attempts. The only one he missed was on the road at Purdue when he doinked it off the upright.
Yeah,
54 out of 73 touchbacks on his kickoffs, and he's perfect on point after attempts. So, not jinxing.
He's a weapon. He's a real weapon.
He really is, and that might be the difference in this game on Saturday. It could come down to who has the better kicker. We'll see.
Special teams are huge. Yeah, it's three facets of the game. The special teams is huge, and we saw it a little bit in Notre Dame how much that can affect them. I don't understand why that's what you just brought up, the trio of redshirt freshmen. And again, you can check. I wrote an article about it this week. How it's not what's up?
Where can they find that article, Kendell?
They can find it at USC Trojans on SI. Go check it out, or you can find it right there on Twitter. You see Hollowell _. You can go ahead and check that out. But I don't understand why it's not a bigger story in college football. Why it's not being talked about more. That SC is where they're at right now, that they're in this game on Saturday and still alive for the college football playoff because of three walk-ons, three young walk-ons. They are not in this position. I don't understand why it's not getting more traction and people are talking about it more.
Well, as we go into the third segment and we get our Friday rants revved up, ESPN Game Day will be there. So maybe that will be that feel-good story that they always like to feature on. Look at these three walk-ons and how they've helped contribute to USC's 8-2 record and a chance to keep their playoff dreams alive. All right, Kendell, I'm sure you've got something you need to get off your chest. I got to get off mine. That's coming up next on this episode of Locked On USC. So the NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, which people tend to do, or you want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score the next basket to who's going to have that next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your bets. Those live bets, you can put them into a same-game parlay, and that's going to give you a shot at a much bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Kendell, it's the end of the week. It's been a long week. Got a lot, at least for me, I got a lot of pent-up frustration, animosity. And I think I want this game to get here. I want to see USC win it. I have not seen USC beat Oregon in a long time, and that doesn't sit well with me. So I'm going to let you go first while I collect my thoughts. What do you want to get off your chest this week? What do you want to rant about?
I've really come to enjoy this segment because I've noticed more. I have more to get off my chest than I kind of realized. So mine. All right, here. This actually came about a couple hours ago. Because I was over at the mall, picking up some stuff for this weekend, and for me, I cannot. It frustrates me to my core the way I think that we move as a society as far as like walking and being like aware of your surroundings and stuff like that. Because like it's down on your phone. You're walking like you're not even moving. You're in like the dead center of the aisle, the row, whatever you want to call it. And people will like stop and they'll like start to like look around and stuff like that. I'm like, you're not the only person around. You gotta keep it pushing. You're not the only, and they're like or you get like a group of people and they're like this like shuffle walk, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not even moving. Like you gotta get out of the way. People are trying to go, and I hate I'm like that person has to be like, oh, excuse me, like try to like duck in like all my way, like trying to just like get around people. Like I just like hate having to do that. I'm like, we got to pick up the pace a little bit, or sometimes like you got to get out of your way. Stop when you're walking. You should not be stopping and looking, especially at a mall. I'm like, what are you looking at? Like you're just like looking around, just like you move off to the side. It just frustrates me so much.
I feel you, because what it is for me, I don't mind if people want to be texting or whatever on their phone while they're walking. Do me a favor, walk in a straight line. Do not crowd walk. I'm trying to anticipate how to get around you.
Yeah.
You should be walking straight. You shouldn't be walking like a crab.
Yeah, exactly. Forward. Yeah. I was like, there was an older lady I was walking behind, and she had like the same exact walk. She was like moving like off to the side, like drifting back and forth. And like, I'm like behind her. I'm like, I either look really, really weird right now, or just like, I'm like trying to like step to the left, and like she's like drifting, and I'm trying to like go back to the right. She's doing it again. I'm like, I look so stupid. I was like, I look so stupid right now, just like trying to fight my way around this old lady right now.
I feel you loud and clear. I really, really do. Let me ask you this question, because maybe I'm off. Maybe it's just me. But is there you're at the press conferences after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a inappropriate time to point out to the coach when you're asking the question, when you're using their own words, why things aren't happening the way they coach them up to do something? For example, great win against Iowa, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come from behind win, gritty win. But all week long, Coach Riley was talking about how that game was bigger than any game they've been playing all week. And it was important that they get out of the gate quickly.
Mm-hmm.
First question of the post-game presser. Hey, Coach, you love the result. You get the win, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's still starting so slow.
Yeah.
I'm getting blowback from people saying, why are you asking Coach Riley the tough question? Why can't you let him enjoy the win? And I'm thinking to myself, you don't seem to understand. We've got a very limited amount of time to get our questions. There's really no, go positive. Oh, let's get a negative in here. When it's more of a, hey, explain to everybody why this is happening. And then all of a sudden you're looking up and like, Katie's saying, last one. Remember, we have a very defined amount of time to work with stuff here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I get it. I'll be the first person. I'm a fan first, a journalist second, and I will always let you know how I'm feeling before, during, and after a game.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, during the game, I tweeted out Lincoln Riley and USC are Lincoln Riley's being outcoached, and the team on the field is getting out executed. They were losing 21-10.
That's a fact. That was 100% a true statement. Yeah.
And you get all of a sudden you get these guys after the game coming back to my Twitter, to the timeline. This aged well. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, you're not. You're not using that meme the right way.
No, at all. That doesn't. No, it was. It was 100% a fact at the time that you tweeted it. It still stood after the game because that's exactly what happened in the first half. They got outcoached. They got executed. I was more physical. The tough questions are part of our job. And I think that for us just watching as fans, journalists, that we understand, and they understand it too as a team. They're not perfect, right? There's a ton of things that they need to be better at, especially if they're trying to win this game on Saturday and make the playoff. They got to be better in the first half. They got to be execute better. You got to, like you said, you got to have that physicality throughout the game. Those are fair questions. And
you brought it up. You brought it up earlier, when Coach Riley was talking about, hey, I'm a real person. I have emotions. You guys just don't always see it. Yeah. Well, that goes back to, you know what? If we see it, you doing that during practice, we can talk about that. How were you upset or were you happy? We can say, hey, you know what? We saw a fired up Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
It's that type of thing for me. So to the fans who think, Marc is just too critical or the media is too harsh on Coach Riley, and I'm usually leading that parade.
Oh, we could be worse.
It's because, trust me, we could. It's because there's a standard. Yeah. And we're not ready to settle. We know where USC can be and where they should be. And everybody with kid gloves, that doesn't fix anything. That's not us doing our job.
I think people need to understand that, because I had somebody really, I think it was a Northwestern game. I had tweeted because Northwestern was running through the run defense and stuff like that. It was the same thing we had seen all season. I had tweeted, at some point, you got to have some more pride. It's not even like a scheme or anything like that or coaching thing. At some point, you have to have more pride and not let people just run all over you. And people were like, oh, you're always negative, this and that. I'm like, well, first of all, that's not true. That's not true at all. And I was like, what part of that isn't true? Like, again, like that, that's a factual statement. You're getting run all over again. It happened the week before. You've given up 300 yards to Notre Dame 2 weeks prior. at some point you had to have more pride in stopping the run. That's 100% a true statement. I think that, right? Like, I mean, you and I, like, we're always going to put, positive stories out there and good tweets and stuff like that. But again, at the end of the day, for us as journalists and stuff like that, it's not all positive. Our job is to be honest and put the truth out there from what we've seen, what we report on, our analysis and all that. And it's not always going to be the greatest. That's just sports in general. That's just how it goes. It doesn't matter. Even, the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, and right, and they're 8-2 right now. Half the talk is negative because that's just how it's going to go. Like, not everything is perfect, and they understand it as a team. And I think just everyone needs to understand that there's bigger goals. Like you said, there's bigger goals. There's a standard to the program, and they have to reach that level. And right now, again, they're 8-2 right now. They're phenomenal and they're in line, but there is a bigger standard. There is that next step that they still have to take.
Yeah. I can't think of one person in the media that usually shows up for the games or for practices that is rooting against Coach Riley or is not in his corner. Each of us just presented differently. And for me, coming from a coaching background, coaching high school basketball, and I see myself in a very similar personality to Coach Riley. I just show it. Yeah. I want to see more of that from Coach Riley. What he showed us after that Iowa game, I want to see that all the time. I would love for you and I to be able to see it at practice.
I would love to be able to watch practice every once in a while.
Exactly.
That's a different thing. Yeah.
It's exactly what we're from. Because we want to give the fans everything.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about. It comes from the heart.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Kendell, once again, thank you for joining Locked On USC for this episode. Tell everybody again where they can find you, what you're doing.
Yeah, you can find us on USC Trojans on SI. Always doing great work, always staying up to date. Plenty of articles coming out every day. You can check us out. And then you can find me on Twitter, @KHollowell_. My articles are out there. My thoughts, my whatever breakdowns of plays, you can all find it there on Twitter. And I think you won't be disappointed.
I will look forward to seeing you up there in Oregon. I'll be up there Friday morning. When are you getting into town?
Friday afternoon. I'm excited. I've never been to the state of Oregon before. It's the only state west of Iowa that I've never been to. So I'm excited to get up there for the first time. It's
a beautiful state, beautiful scenery. The people, I'll let you make your own judgment. Okay, so until our next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.